This is Valley News Live at 5.
We begin with breaking news. A West Fargo Cheyenne High School assistant principal is apologizing to parents and students after being charged with drunk driving. In an email sent to students and families, Nathan Schleicher says he failed as a father, teacher, and leader of the school. To read the full statement, just head to our website, valleynewslive.com. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is arriving at our local hospitals, clinics, and service health units. 200 Johnson & Johnson vaccines are making their way to Essentia next week, and that means the hospital will be able to provide a bigger allocation of vaccines with Pfizer and Moderna. Essentia is still vaccinating people who are 65 years of age and living in the hospital's service area. This is regardless of whether the person is an Essentia patient or not. They have appointments available immediately. Patients can use their MyChart account to make an appointment. Sanford is also receiving 2,000 Johnson & Johnson vaccines. Fargo-Cass Public Health will get 400 doses and 600 for Grand Forks Public Health. Clay County Public Health has not received any Johnson & Johnson vaccines yet and isn't sure when they will. Last night, we told you how both Fargo and West Fargo public schools are going back to distance learning while their teachers get vaccinated. Tonight, we're digging into your concerns about the school district's decisions. That story is coming up on Valley News Live at 6. And you can stay up to date with the latest COVID vaccine-related information by browsing our VNL vaccine tracker. You can visit our website or simply open your phone camera and point it at the QR code on your screen. Then tap the link that pops up. Moorhead High School students are set to return to full in-person learning on Monday. Freshmen already got their head start 2 weeks ago. And as the rest of the students return to the classroom, there are signs and patterns they must follow. Masks must be worn at all times, completely covering their nose and mouth. They must social distance and use the hand sanitizing stations. And QR codes are provided at lunch tables for students to scan for contact tracing purposes.
Kids really need that social aspect in their lives, and I think having the opportunity to not just be with friends but have interactions with adults and be able to ask an adult in person when you have a question about something tends to be a better way of learning for most kids.
Lawrence says staff will be on hand to help any student with first day jitters. Today's sort of like a teaser for the weekend, isn't it? It's only going to get better. Let's head over to Hutch to find out what this evening looks like. Hutch?
Well, the evening's off to a fantastic start. As we head into that evening, we have mid-40s across most of Lakes Country, and from the valley and points west, near 50-degree readings, in fact 51 in Grand Forks. We do have some clouds spilling over a ridge of high pressure to the west of us, so we might see an increase in those clouds in our northern counties, but by and large Fargo will see maybe some late night cloud potential as we'll have temperatures slipping into the low 30s. Grand Forks, there's a look at a few of those high clouds, nothing too substantial yet, and by late evening temperatures near 30 and light wind. Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about that warm weather for the weekend, how long it lasts, and we'll have an update on a midweek storm system that will bring a chance of some snow to the area. The latest here in just a few moments.
All right. Thanks, Hutch. Fargo police want you to know about a high-risk sex offender living at 726 College Street North in Fargo. Officials say 31-year-old Michael Allen Nelson was convicted in Barnes County District Court in 2009 for corruption and solicitation of a minor. He provided alcohol for and had sex with a 14-year-old female acquaintance. Nelson must register for a lifetime. One man is now in jail after a chase through Grand Forks. Police tried pulling over the driver of a stolen car yesterday afternoon. Police say he stopped, then took off again, hitting another car at a busy intersection on South Washington. Officers used a pit maneuver to stop the car, then arrested 30-year-old Bryce Gamboa of Grand Forks for possession of stolen property, reckless endangerment and driving, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Police say no one was hurt during that chase. 2 people are dead after a head-on crash in north-central North Dakota, and now authorities say criminal charges are possible. The Highway Patrol says it happened yesterday afternoon near Animus in McHenry County. Troopers say the driver of a pickup pulled into the opposite lane to pass a semi, then hit a minivan head-on. The minivan rolled into the ditch and killed a 49-year-old woman from Martin, North Dakota, and her 55-year-old passenger. The 29-year-old driver of the pickup from Harvey was flown to a Minot hospital for treatment. Names are not being released until relatives are notified. The Minnesota Court of Appeals has ruled in favor of allowing the prosecution to add back a third-degree murder charge against former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Chauvin's trial on the current charges of second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter in the death of George Floyd starts Monday. Prosecutors initially charged Chauvin with third-degree murder as well, but the defense asked to have the charge dropped for lack of probable cause, and the judge agreed. But today, the Court of Appeals reversed that decision. If you're waiting for a COVID relief check from the government, there is light at the end of the tunnel. President Joe Biden's rescue plan is coming closer to a vote after senators spent today debating the bill. NBC's Susan McGinnis is on Capitol Hill, where it's all happening.
President Biden with a final push for his sweeping COVID relief bill.
People need the help now.
Senators spending the day debating and voting on amendments to the bill, which would include $1,400 direct payments to Americans, funding for vaccines and to reopen schools, and jobless benefits lowered to $300 per week.
Clerk will call the roll.
Today's debate falling along party lines, Republicans calling the bill too costly, arguing trillions in relief already approved has gone unspent, and that much of the bill has nothing to do with coronavirus.
This is an opportunity to spend money on things not related to COVID because they have the power to do so.
Democrats calling their conservative colleagues short-sighted about the real needs of Americans.
You're struggling to put food on the table for your kids. That $5,600 for a family of four is life and death. It is dignity or desperation.
President Biden focused on reversing the economic effects of the pandemic.
The rescue plan is absolutely essential for turning this around.
Just as new numbers from the job front show hiring up last month, the jobless rate down, proving Republicans say the economy needs no boost.
Our country is already set for a roaring recovery.
Democrats argue it doesn't go far enough and are ready to pass the bill without Republican help if necessary.
Officials say if all Republicans vote against the bill as expected, Vice President Harris is expected to break the tie and pass the bill. During today's White House coronavirus response briefing, health officials issued a stern warning, saying much progress has been made in the fight against COVID-19, but there's still a long way to go. The CDC says it is still finalizing guidelines for fully vaccinated individuals, and that data will be available soon. It's urging the public not to ease up on prevention measures as cases still remain too high.
Progress demonstrates we can defeat COVID-19, but it does not equal success. It may seem tempting in the face of all of this progress to try to rush back to normalcy as if the virus is in the rearview mirror. It's not.
The CDC director says states should double down on their prevention measures instead of loosening restrictions. The U.S. added nearly 380,000 jobs last month. The February jobs report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows they were non-farm payroll jobs. The unemployment rate also dropped to just over 6%. This comes after 166,000 jobs were added in January and a loss of more than 300,000 jobs in December. Roughly 10 million jobs were lost during the pandemic. NASA is sharing new images from its Mars 2020 Perseverance rover. Perseverance performed its first drive on Mars yesterday, covering about 21 feet across the landscape. Its cameras have already sent back about 7,000 images. The drive, which lasted about 33 minutes, served as a mobility test as team members check out and calibrate every system and instrument. If you're a big fan of the outdoors and need some equipment for your next camping trip, the Sportsman's Show this weekend has you covered. Numerous displays cover the floor of the Fargo Dome, including boats, RVs, pop-up cameras, and campers, and more. The always popular Twiggy the Skiing Squirrel is back this year, and you can fish for trout, too. Last year, 16,000 to 17,000 people attended the event. Organizers expect the same amount this year as more COVID restrictions are relaxed.
We kind of retrenched to the family. So the family bought a pontoon or they got a camper, they went to campgrounds. These are places that are outside. They're really safe with the whole COVID situation.
The Sportsman's Show runs until 9 tonight and then again from 10 to 9 tomorrow and 10 to 5 on Sunday. You can find ticket prices at valleynewslive.com. We are less than 24 hours away from kickoff when the Bison travel to Springfield, Missouri to take on Missouri State for their third game of the spring season. The pregame show starts at 1. Kickoff is set for 2. You can catch all the action on KVLY. A group of escaped monkeys from a Venezuelan zoo have taken to raiding kitchens and private homes for food. The zoo has been closed for the past year because of the pandemic. People living near the zoo aren't sure if the monkeys escaped or were released by zookeepers who couldn't afford to continue feeding them. So the monkeys continue to roam a neighborhood near the zoo looking for their next meal. A big box retailer is ready to help you decorate at a reduced price. What it's getting ready to offer customers is still to come.
It's been a dry winter and a dry fall last season, and that means as we head into spring and our snow is melting, we do have some concerns about drought conditions with severe droughts setting up in the Devils Lake Basin. Your forecast for a nice toasty weekend of spring-like weather is next, and we'll talk about when we cool off right after this.